Hello everyone, nice to see you again. Sorry it is a little bit dark, but hopefully it is bright enough that you can see me. Winter has truly arrived in the UK, so outside it is completely black. So, today I'm going to read the next comic strip of Winker Watson, explain the words and phrases to you as we go along. So, let's start. Here we can see a little introduction to this comic strip. It says, Winker Watson, hero of the third form, champion wangler of Greytower School, is taking the air. Mr. Creep is taking the class on a nature ramble. So here is Winker Watson, our main character, and he is the hero of third form. Now, third form is a slightly old-fashioned way in the UK to talk about year 9. And year 9 is the equivalent to grade 8 in American schools. So usually the age of about 13, I think. So third form or year 9, we can say both of them. But as I say, third form is a slightly old-fashioned way to talk about this year. So here he is a champion wangler. So he is really good at causing problems, at playing tricks on people. And he's taking the air. To take the air means to fly in the sky or to go into the air. So here you can see all of his classmates carrying him on their shoulders. So he's taking the air. And Mr. Creep, here he is. He is the headmaster. Oh, no, sorry, he's not the headmaster. He's a teacher at the school, Mr. Creep. And you can see he's sweating as he tries to climb up the hill. And Mr. Creep and all of the class are going on a nature ramble. A ramble is a way to say a walk in nature. Usually a ramble is a kind of not a very flat walk. So a ramble is usually going to be in a hilly place or maybe in a place that has lots of trees or plants, so you can't walk straight ahead, but you've got to climb over things, go under things. This is what a ramble is, but basically it's a hike. So they're going on a hike in nature. And Mr. Creep says, "Put Watson down, you boys, and slow down." And this boy says, "Ah, Mr. Creep, sir." And the other, "It's his rightful place." So here Mr. Creep is telling the boys to put Watson down on the ground, not to carry him anymore. But this boy is obviously upset about that. Mr. Creep, sir. So he's complaining. He's making a complaining tone with his voice. And the other says it's his rightful place. That means that he thinks he deserves to be carried by the boys. It's his right. It's his rightful place. This is an expression we can use to say that the position that someone is in is a position they deserve. So you might say it about someone and a job that they have and say, being the headmaster of the school is his rightful place. So it's a place it's a position that he deserves, and usually it gives a sense that he's good at it as well. So in this case, he deserves to be carried by the other boys. Just a little bit of vocabulary. We can see obviously that outside, and these boys are walking on a hill. We can also see that these two are carrying a basket. Probably the basket is full of food and plates and cutlery. Knives, forks and spoons, cutlery, so that the boys and Mr. Creep can have a picnic together. And in the distance, we can also see a church and a cross on the top of the church, on the roof as well. So, let's continue with the next part. There we go. I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here, the boy here says, "Look, Winker's the king of the castle." And Mr. Creep says, "Pah, that boy is no king. Put him down at..." once, and he skids on the ground and flies onto his back. And flies down on the ground onto his back. So here, this boy is saying that Wink is the king of the castle. This is a little bit something that we say when we're kids in English, in England, and maybe in America, I don't know. But in English, if you kind of climb onto the top of something, if you're high up and everyone else is low down in position, maybe you climb to the top of a tree or you climb to the top of a hill, then you can say, I'm the king of the castle. And there's another line, which is, and you're the dirty rascal. So it's something that kids sing. And that's what this boy is saying here. Because Watson is on the top of the hill, on the top of the boy's shoulders. So he says, look, Wink is the king of the castle. But Mr. Creep disagrees. And unfortunately for Mr. Creep, he falls over. All of the boys are laughing a lot at the sight of Mr. Creep falling on his back. Ha 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 ha. Ho 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 ho. Tee hee hee hee. So all of these are different kinds of sounds for different kinds of laughs. And you can see that some of the boys are even on the ground laughing. So they're rolling on the floor laughing, which means they found it incredibly funny. And here, this boy shouts, Wink is the king and Creepy's the court jester. So, what's a court jester? Well, a court jester is someone who worked in the court of the king. So this is not a court of law, but this is a royal court where a king lives. And his job is to make the king laugh, to tell jokes, to do silly things, to make the king laugh, to entertain the king. Because, of course, a long time ago, there wasn't as much entertainment. There were not TVs, there were not smartphones. So if you were a king in your castle and you needed entertainment, then you could ask your jester for entertainment. Here you can see this is a jester. We also have a jester in a pack of cards, on one of the cards. They're on a card in a pack of cards. We call it a joker. But essentially it's the same thing. So they say that Winker is the king and Mr. Creep is the jester because, of course, he has made them all laugh a lot. Okay, so let's go down here. Winker says, you really ought to let me walk sometimes though, chaps. I'll get flabby. And the other boy, ha ha. And the other boy, oh, Winker, you'll never be flabby. So, what's flabby? Flabby means fat. If you have a lot of flab, it's a lot of extra fat. So someone who's flabby is someone who's very fat. If you're very tall and skinny and slim, then you are not flabby and you don't have flab. You don't have any flab. But someone who has a lot of extra fat could say that they are flabby or they have a lot of flab. So here, Winker is saying, you know, guys, it's probably a good idea that you let me walk, because if you're always carrying me, I'm going to get fat. I'm going to get flabby. And here he uses the word chaps. And chaps is another word for boy or guy or man. So it's another word that men or boys use to talk about other men or boys. Another point though about that is it's also quite a class related word. So it's usually a word used by people who are middle class or upper class, and maybe also public schooled. I don't know, public schooling in British English means private schooling, okay? When we talk about private schools, we call them public schools. even if they're not public. And you have to pay money and they're private. But we call them in the UK public schools. Very strange, I know. But people who go to public school or people who are very upper class tend to use this word chap if they're a man to talk about another man or boy. So, you really ought to let me walk sometimes though, chaps. I'll get flabby. Haha. Oh, Winker, you'll never be flabby. And then, no, come on, lads. I need to stretch my legs. Quite right. I'm in charge here. So here, Winker is saying he needs to go for a walk. To stretch our legs is a way to say to go for a walk. Now, of course, we can literally stretch our legs, like I can literally stretch my arms, and I can also do the same with my legs, but also it's an expression to say to go for a walk. For example, if you go on a car journey for a very long ride, maybe you go on a car journey for 3 or 4 hours to go somewhere, then at some point you might need to stop, get out of the car and just stretch your legs. So go for a little walk. So, Creep says, quite right. You will put Winker down. You will not carry Winker. Winker is not the king. I'm in charge. I tell you to put him down and you will do it. But of course, they're not doing it because Mr. Creep asked. They're doing it because Winker asked. So Winker really is the one in charge in this situation. Here's Mr. Creep and he says, now, we need to find somewhere to stop and write up and make some drawings of plants. So here he's saying we need to stop somewhere. We need to find a good place that we can stop. We can sit down. We can take a rest. And we're going to write and make some drawings of plants. To write up here means to write something in a kind of complete or finished way. You could also say to write without up here. We need to find somewhere to stop and write and make some drawings of plants. That's fine. But to write up suggests that they're going to spend some time writing something quite complete and quite finished, not just simply a few notes, but something a bit longer or something that is more considered, that they think about more, and then also make the drawings as well. So, soon, we can see soon. So here's Winker, and he says, there's a nice bit of shade under that tree over there, sir. And Mr. Creep says, no, I don't think so, Watson. We'll go in this field. And look at Mr. Creep's eyes. He's very suspicious of Watson. He doesn't trust Watson ever, and he's not going to agree with something that Watson says. So here, Watson suggests going over there to get some shade. And when it's a very hot day or a very sunny day and you want to be out of the sun, then it's good to get some shade. And you can do that by going to a big tree and sitting under the tree. And the tree will give you shade from the sun. So shade is protection from the sun by a big object. Usually a tree or maybe a building as well can give us shade. So let's see what happens when they go into the other field. Oh, here we can see Watson has a very mischievous look on his face. So he's up to something. He's up to something. He's got a mischievous look on his face. So that means that the expression, the look on his face, tells us that he's doing something wrong or he's trying to cause trouble. He's up to something. He's up to something. He's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. He has a plan. He's up to something. And we can see that he's holding this branch. And now he's moved the branch. And behind it, we can see a sign. It says, beware of the bull. So in this field, there is a bull, and a bull is a male cow. A bull, a male cow. And here we can see a little thought bubble this time, not a speech bubble, but a thought bubble. Thought you might say that, Mr. Creep, sir, if I suggested the other one. So here he's saying, if I suggested this one, then I knew you would reject it, and you would say no and choose the other one. The one I wanted you to choose, the one with the bull in it. So he goes into the field. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, it's a very long image here. Okay, I'll just zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so Winker says, right, chaps, you stay out here. This could be dangerous. And Mr. Creep says, Winker, are you sure about this? Oh, no, sorry. I think this is his friend is saying this. Winker, are you sure about this? And this other friend says, let me sacrifice myself, Winker. So in this case, Winker is saying, you guys stay back because we're going into this field and it could be dangerous because there is a bull. And this boy is even offering his own life. He's offering to go in Winker's place. He's offering to take that risk. And he says, let me sacrifice myself, Winker. When we sacrifice ourselves, or we sacrifice something, for example, how can I explain it? If you pray to a god, then in some religions you might sacrifice something to the god. So you might give something of value to the god. For example, you might take a lamb, a baby sheep, a lamb, and you might kill the lamb as a sacrifice to the god. So you're not able to eat it, but it's like an offering, something you offer to the god. Or you might put some food on a table, or you might put some gold or something valuable, and you sacrifice it. So you say, we are not having it, and this is an offering to you. In this case, the boy is saying, I will offer my life to save your life. Okay, so I'm going to sacrifice myself to save your life. We could also use this in the context of if someone's in danger, maybe if someone is about to shoot another person, and then someone sees it and they jump in the way of the bullet. At that point, they've sacrificed themselves. So they've given their life to save another person's. They've offered their life. They've sacrificed themselves. But Winker doesn't say anything, and it looks like Winker is going into the field. But notice, he's taking off his red blazer. It's a blazer. We can call it a blazer or a jacket when it's a part of a suit or a uniform like this, which obviously in Britain we're quite famous for our school uniforms, which are quite weird for a lot of people. But I had one just like this. I mean, not red, but I also had a jacket or blazer and long trousers and tie and shirt. So it's pretty common in the UK at school. And here he's taking off his blazer or his jacket and giving it to another boy. I wonder why. Okay. Don't worry about me, chaps. Worry about old Creepy. And here we can see he's also taken off his red hat. And he's winking. So don't worry about me, chaps. Worry about old Creepy. Okay. And Watson says to Mr. Creep, it's a hot old day, sir. Wouldn't you be more comfortable without your gown? Let me help you off with it. And Mr. Creep, that's awfully kind of you, Watson. Perhaps I've misjudged your character. So here Winker says it's a hot old day. It's a hot old day. Old is just a word here which it doesn't really have too much meaning, but it's like a funny expression that we can use when you add old to something. So, for example, I could say, that's a nice old plant. That's a nice old plant. This plant is not old, but I could say it and it just adds a little bit of charm to the expression. Or I could say, she's my good old friend. My good old friend. So in that case, it does suggest that I've been friends with that person for a long time. But in this case, it doesn't really have anything to do with time. It just is just a way to make a nice expression. And we do that quite a lot in English. So, it's a hot old day, sir. Wouldn't you be more comfortable without your gown? And the gown here is the black kind of jacket that he's wearing. A gown is not a word we use very often in English, but it's usually a kind of old-fashioned type of clothing, usually a kind of a robe. Or the only time that it's very common still in its use in English is when we talk about a dressing gown. A dressing gown is the thing that we wear in the morning before you've put on your clothes or before you've had a shower. You might just put on a dressing gown, which is a very long piece of clothing that you can wear into the kitchen while you have your breakfast, and then after you might relax in your dressing gown, and then you might take it off and have a shower and get dressed. So that's the time when we most often use gown. But here it's a kind of traditional robe because it's a public school, private school. So that's awfully kind of you, Watson. Now, awfully here just means very. That's very kind of you. That's awfully kind of you. Awfully is a very formal, very polite way to say very in a sentence. Of course, awful also means bad. So it can also mean bad, like I did an exam and I did awfully. I did awfully. But we can also use it in phrases to mean sorry. To mean very. For example, that's awfully kind. That's very kind. Or, I'm awfully sorry. I'm awfully sorry. I'm very sorry. So, Mr. Creep says, perhaps I've misjudged your character. Misjudge your character means to make an excuse me, to make an incorrect judgment of that person. So Mr. Creep obviously doesn't think that Watson is a very good student, and he thinks that he's suspicious of him, he doesn't trust him, he thinks he's maybe a bad boy. And at this moment, Winker is so nice to Mr. Creep, and Mr. Creep thinks, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I've misjudged your character, Winker. Maybe you're a nice kid after all. So, Mr. Creep says, where are the other boys? And Winker says, oh, I wonder where they've got to, sir. I'll go and find out. Why don't you sit down? And here you can see that Mr. Creep is looking for the other boys, and Winker is pulling or tugging, when you pull hard, tugging the gown. He doesn't want Mr. Creep to wear the gown. Mr. Creep says, no, Watson, I'll definitely need to come with you to... Oh, sir! Oh, dear, sir, look behind you! Look behind you, sir! And what is behind him? There's the bull. And the bull looks like it's already ready to charge, because we can see it's kicked its foot and it's got air coming out of its nose, its nostrils. It's breathing out of its nose. It's breathing out of its nostrils very hard. These are nostrils. We have two nostrils. So, clearly, bulls are very attracted by the colour red, so it's not a great thing to be wearing in a field with a bull, a bright red suit. This is a terrible thing to be wearing, but Winker helped to set up this situation. Okay, this is a really big image, so just let me zoom out a little bit for you guys. Okay, so Here, Winker starts to run. He says, "Sorry, sir, there's nothing I can do except scram! Yikes, a bull and me in a red suit!" So to scram is to get out of a situation or to get out of a place immediately, quickly. So it means to run or to leave quickly. It's usually what someone says, for example, a mother who has lots of children around her and she's angry and she wants the children to go away. She'll say, "Go, scram, 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 scram." And it means go away, leave immediately. So he's saying, all I can do is scram. All I can do is leave immediately. And Mr. Creep says, "Yikes." Yikes is, oh my God, yikes. A bull and me in a red suit. Obviously, this isn't very grammatically correct, and me in a red suit. The more grammatical sentence would be, and I'm wearing a red suit. But here it's like a quicker way of speaking. And it's possible to say that. And me in a red suit. Okay, and then we can see Mr. Creep climbing up the tree and the bull charges into the trunk of the tree. Here's the trunk, the central part of the tree, the trunk. And it goes slam into the trunk of the tree. And one of the boys says, "The jester is on absolutely top form." And another boy, "Winker certainly is." So the jester is obviously this character, what the boys called Mr. Creep. And when they say he's on absolutely top form, they mean that he is doing an amazing job. If someone is on top form, then they're doing really well at what they do. So here he's a jester and he makes people laugh. Therefore, this is a hilarious situation. So he's doing really good at making people laugh. So he is on top form. But we use this phrase all the time in British English. It's a really useful one for you to remember. You could use it also in the context of doing really well in a presentation, for example. If you do a presentation in front of your colleagues and you finish and you think, "Oh my God, I did so well. I was so natural, so confident," then you will say to yourself, "I was on top form. I did really well." Or if you're playing a sport, or if you're watching your favorite team play their sport and they do really well, you can say, "They were on top form today. They did absolutely incredible, on top form." So here the other boy says, "Winker certainly is." So he's saying that Winker is on top form because Winker has constructed this whole situation and he's doing very well. "Go and get some help, boys. Promise me you'll hurry." So Mr. Creep is shouting to the boys, "Please help. Promise me you'll help. Promise me you'll hurry. You'll be quick. You won't wait. You'll go and get some help immediately." And Winker says, "We will, sir. We will, Mr. Creep, sir. We promise. We will, Mr. Creep, sir. We promise. We will go and get help, and we promise to hurry." And the other boy says, "Hurry, Winker. Hurry, Winker. Are we going to hurry? Really? This is a great situation." And the other boy says, "We don't like to question you, but, we don't like to question your judgment. You're normally really good at making decisions. You normally have good judgment, but you think we should hurry?" And he says, "Absolutely, chaps. We will hurry. Right after we've emptied the picnic hamper, played cards, and lazed about in the sun." So they're not going to hurry. They're going to do 3 different things which take lots and lots of time, and then eventually they will go and get someone to help Mr. Creep. Here we've got the word hamper. This is very similar to the word basket. A hamper is a basket, usually full of delicious foods and delicious things. A hamper is the kind of thing that you get someone for a present. If you want to get someone a present of food and maybe wine, then you can buy them a hamper, a big box with lots of delicious food and wine prepared. But here in this case, a hamper just means a basket. So they're going to have the picnic hamper, play cards, and laze about in the sun. Be lazy, not do anything, relax, laze about. To laze about means to be lazy or to relax, to laze about. Okay, so I just want to ask you one question, give you a chance to answer a question for people who like that. And this is a relatively simple question, and it is, why does Winker remove his red blazer before going into the field? So you can pause it here, and then after I'll give you a suggested response. So the answer, or a suggested answer, is he removes his red blazer before he goes into the field because otherwise the bull might charge at him. Because if he doesn't take off his blazer, the bull might charge at him. Okay, everyone, that's the end of the video today. If you did like it, then please do like it, and also let me know what you think about how I can make this video better, or any suggestions that you have down in the comments below. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you again soon. Bye.